How's it going today, guys? So I've decided to make a video on how to do an alignment on a first gen, second gen Chevy II. Why, you ask? Well, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but my tires are wearing pretty bad. This setup is kind of not a great setup for a vehicle. It's probably pretty fine. It's probably okay if you drive a lot of blacktop or stay in town, but I drive a lot of dirt roads, and those dirt roads are not always smooth. So, that being said, this alignment's lasted me about 3-4 years, something like that. So, I'm gonna have to go back and reset it all. Now I'm going to be using a FasTrax alignment tool, as well as some Jegs toe plates. My problem and my anxiety comes from the fact that I have printed off specifications from Chevy II onlys, and they give the factory specs and other problems to check out. You can find this information on their website as well. I also printed out an article, and I'm not sure where I found this article, but it gives similar specs for the factory specs, but it also gives generic specs for radials as opposed to the bias supplies that this would have been set up with. Now, I can't remember which set of specs I used last time that has netted me a good setup. So the little apprehension here is because last time I did one spec that didn't work out very well, so I had to go back and redo it, but I had to drive on it for a week. It was just a miserable drive. I plan to get tires within the next couple weeks here for the Chevy II. Also, I plan to get rid of my long valve stems. I'm actually just going to go to short. I left these on here in case I decided I wanted to run the hubcaps, but I haven't ran them since I bought the car in 2014, and it is now 2021. So I don't think I'll ever go back to them, so I might as well just put on short valve stems. Anyways, so I checked this side, the passenger side, which isn't wearing tires, and it seems to be very close to the factory specs. So I'm going to give the factory specs a go. If that doesn't work, then I'll have to do it differently. But I won't make a video on that. I may comment, oh, by the way, I messed that up. This is what you should do. So here's some of the tools you're going to need starting off. So the caster part of it with these arms, I guess it'd be the radius arm. I think that's what it's called. The nuts on that are 1 inch, so you're going to want a 1 inch socket and a 1 inch wrench, because you can get a wrench on the backside or an adjustable wrench. Your call. For the actual camber part of it, it's a 3/4 inch, or it takes 3/4 inch wrenches on either side. And then for the toe part of it, the drag links and the supporting hardware, you're going to want some adjusters, whether you use screwdrivers or what, but it's a 1/2 inch on my car to unlock the collars, so I can change those. So let's get started. So step one with this system, you're going to want to make sure wherever you put it, it's clean. Then you're going to want to put the little lips pressing up. Unlock it, run it up, and lock it in. Now it says first to, so the other side I will add was at it was like half a degree positive. Now I'm going to negative on this one. That explains why it's wanting to not be vertical but lean out. So let's get this reset. However, first you have to set your caster on this setup. So let's get started with that. So you're going to want to turn this. Once this front of the wheel is out, and this is aligned with the side of the fender, you set this to 0 by loosening this screw, and then you turn the wheel back to where it should be driving square. And that'll tell you what your caster is. So let's give it a go. So this is a bit of a trick, but trying to get that 15-degree line as close as you can to the 15, trying to get it as straight as you can with the fender. I'm trying to use that trim for reference. I think I got it there. So I'm going to go with the settings from Chevy II only and set this that way, the factory settings that they have. So I'm looking for 1.5 to 1 toe. Now the other sides I already know is at 1.5. So we just got to set this side to 1.5. That side seems to be fine. We'll see where this one's at and we'll go from there. Now I've already screwed with this and I kind of messed up because I didn't read the instructions, so this side's going to probably be really wonky, but we'll get it back to where we need to go. What I will forewarn is threading the nut out, letting the wheel come back is negative. Threading the nut in, letting the wheel pull forward with that radius rod is positive. Now someone out there who's been a mechanic all their life and does this alignment stuff quite a bit will be yelling at the screen going, yes, we know that. But for most people, they don't know that. So let's get started here. Let me get it onto the 15-degree here, set it to 0, and then we will turn it back and then see where our readings are at. Let's see where we're at here. We're at 50. We're right there. All right, let's set this to 0. And we'll sweep back and see where we're at. The wind's blowing all my paperwork away. All right, lift this all up, put it under my toe plates. That's set to 0-ish. It's a very touchy setup here. All right, let's go back the other way. That's pretty close. Oh yeah, we are way off. All right, so we need to run the nut out a little bit so we can get to 1.5. Let's see if we can do that real quick. Now, the reason I'm really doing this is because I hit a huge pothole like a month ago, and it's been wearing that tire like crazy. Again, I'm going to buy new tires for this car, so I'm not super worried about it, but I'd like to have this fixed before I put the new tires on and ruin some new tires. Granted, they're kind of cheap for these old cars. They've gone up in price. What used to be $50 has now come up to about $70. But that could, I don't know if that's due to the situation of the 2020 and the 2021, what's been going on, or not, but I could probably look at that and see how much we're moving. Okay, we moved it a little bit. Snug that up. Snug this side up too. Not that I need to because it's jammed nut. All right, let's look at where we're at. So it looks like we're just under 2. I'm going for a solid 1.5, which would be just a little bit more. I want the bottom of the bubble right there and the top of the bubble right there, which would put it at about 1.5. So we got a little bit ways to go. Actually, the bubble needs to go closer to that side. So let's keep going. Okay, so I'm not quite to 1.5, but I'm gonna say it's really close. It's within a 1/4 degree, which is what I want for either side. So I'm gonna go inspect the other side, make sure everything's tight, and then we're gonna start on camber, my big issue. So what you're going to want to do for the camber side of it to adjust this to 0 is you're going to want to hold this, make sure there's nothing under it, obviously. Then you want to loosen this four-sided nut and then adjust it to zero. I thought that would work. Oh, well. It doesn't work very well here. So I'm going to make sure this is set to 0. I don't think I'm doing it the right way. I tried doing it the way the instructions, and I didn't quite get it, so maybe I just screwed something up. So I'm going to make sure this is set to 0, or at least pretty close. Ah! There we are. It's got a little bit of a creep to it, seems like. Okay, so and then I'll just pick it up. Not lock it, but I need to engage it. Lock it. So this is showing about a ½ degree positive with camber. Let's see what I'm. So the instructions say 1/4 degrees of positive camber. So let's, we're a little over a half, so we need to get it down a little bit. So here's the weak point of the whole suspension. Your camber is relying on this eccentric disc in here to hold. So with that being said, I've already loosened this. I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to put a jack on the bolt head on a wrench and jack it up so I can tilt it in or out. So let me get that set up and do that. So this probably isn't totally the correct way to do this, but what I end up doing is I loosen the nut. I then put a wrench on the bolt side and use that to turn the eccentric. I use a jack to help facilitate that because it's under a lot of stress. You could jack it up and do this manually, but you're going to be jacking it up and bringing it back down quite a bit just in order to get your setting. So this is where I'm at right now. I'll just kind of keep going with it here. What I'll end up doing though is I will jack it up, get it to where I want it, tighten it, loosen the jack back down, and then recheck and make sure everything looks good. So I said 1/4, so we are at, let's double check, 1/4 degrees positive. We're at about a little over a half. We got a little bit more to go, so I will try to do this slowly. Maybe I went the wrong way. So now it's... I think I did go the wrong way. Okay, so let's try this again. We'll back it off, and I mean, half isn't bad, but we are going the wrong way. So let's let it down a little bit and see if it'll redo its thing. Come on, Mr. Jack, go slow. As stated before, the other side is loose. Nope, if anything, that made it worse. We'll let the jack all the way down. All right, let me readjust here. Okay, so I got the jack flipped around here. Let's see if we can get it down to a quarter. That seems about where it needs to be. Let's tighten it up, and I will recheck by I'll show you how I all right, jack's off. It's right about a 1/4 inch, so took a little bit of work. One thing you might be cautious about is when you're tightening it up, that could actually rotate that cam as well, causing you more trouble. I had to go back and fix that. So let's go check the other side, and I will see how that looks and go from there. So this side's a little off as well. It's only about 3/4 of a degree off as opposed to the other side, which was quite a bit more. So let me adjust this side, then we'll start in on the toe. So the toe plates are pretty simple. Basically, you just hook the tape measure onto one side of the plate on the other wheel, pull it across, measure it here, and then do the same for the front. You should, for a Chevy II, they're supposed to be 0 to 1/64. So pretty tight tolerances on this. I got mine from Jegs, and I taped the instructions to it so that way I'd never forget. So I'm gonna check this and see where we're at. You will need a second person, just because you try to pull the back and it's gonna get wonky, and you can't really tell if the plate is fully against each tire or not, because you're kind of just pulling it through. So if it is, I got problems. If not, we'll see. I'll see if I can get some help, and then I'll get this finished up. Basically, that's it. You got it from here. Another tip I'll give you is to make sure all your car tires are aired up and you're on one slab of concrete, because if you're on two and they're like this, that could throw off also doing the alignment a little bit, because you want the car to be resting in a natural state, kind of like how you're driving, such as I am right now. I always like to take it out before I gotta drive it to work. Well, today's kind of a bummer, because I don't know if you can tell, but we got a pretty strong south wind, and if I let go, it wants to drift that way. So who knows whether it's actually, you know, driving true or what's going on. I got a brief relief there from the wind, and it seemed to drive pretty straight. Nothing seems like it's real wonky. Seems to go pretty good. I'm gonna count this as a win and put the new tires on, and we'll kind of see how it goes from there. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Hopefully you can get out and maybe this helps you know what's going on with your vehicle and you're able to fix your Chevy II, or understand what it takes to work on a car and the front suspension on an older car in general.